So what do you think is the biggest bottleneck today in software engineering? Like, what's the biggest issue?
Well, I don't know that I can answer. Let me think. Let me give a personal answer
Yeah.
first, and then I'll try to think of a market answer. So a personal answer for me is so I'm going to quibble with you. You said that judgment was a function of experience.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. There's some other element there, and I'll call it wisdom, because there are people who have the same experiences. Take two people that have the same experiences and draw very different lessons from those. Let's point to one that's an anti-pattern. So I worked with an executive who was the CEO of a massive company that we bought. This was back when I was at a different company, not Three Pillar. And he said to me once, he goes, Scott, we tend to have problems around releases. I think we should stop releasing. I mean, it's a perfectly fine conclusion to reach. It's just exactly the wrong conclusion. If you want to get better at releases, you do them more often, right? Like teams should get good at changing code without weird things happening.
If it's painful, just do it more often, right?
Do it. Yes, you get good at it, right? Like, I mean, because we're not going to stop releasing or release once a year. That's catastrophic. What we need to do is release every 2 weeks like clockwork and have it be a non-event, which means we got to be more buttoned up upstream in how we do things. So there's a lot more predictability downstream, which makes us more reliable, et cetera, et cetera. So, but it's an unwise conclusion to draw from that experience. It's the wrong conclusion. So one of the things that I've been trying to identify is who are people who are deriving wisdom from experience versus people who are deriving anti-patterns or anti-wisdom, if you will, from experience, because it's not years. Yeah. It's wisdom that I'm looking for. I can find somebody that's really long in the game that I don't want to build products with. And I can find somebody very young in the game that I absolutely want to build products with. And the delta is good judgment. And I don't know how to call it other than that, but there's something about that wisdom piece that we miss. Where do you see the uncommon pattern that leads to better results as a whole? And again, I think time is the really big one. We don't need to be good at releases right this second. We need to get good at releases as soon as possible. So what's the best way to get there?
Yeah.
That type of thing. So I that's my, because it's also a meta. It's not about the skill.
Yeah.
I do think data privacy is going to be a big issue. I mean, it's only getting worse. The tools that our hackers are using. So I will give you a market answer. The tools that the hackers are using is accelerating. Yeah. You can be dumber and dumber about technology and do the hacking.
Yeah.
You know this. It's very readily available to go get bots that will do dictionary attacks. That's incredibly low sophistication, but very effective.
Yeah.
The fact is,
a lot of people. Yeah.
A lot of people still use very guessable passwords or the same password on every single site. And how many of the services they're already using have already been breached. And so it's very easy for me to get a password that Pavel has used once before, and it doesn't cost me a lot to try 50 variations of that password on 92 sites that I think you might be using, including your bank. Right. So these things it's just easier and easier to do it. So I think more people will try it. And the developers, this, are not worried about, they're not focused on that problem. Yeah. They might be doing hygiene, but they're not doing defense. Mm-hmm. There's not very many companies that are doing effective defense, meaning in real time, who's trying to hack my product today, right now. DDoS attacks, your cloud provider will take care of. Those aren't really effective, not effective anymore. But for more direct micro attacks that are just as likely to be debilitating, there's just not a lot of companies that are doing active defense, but there's a lot of people doing active attacks.